Hello and welcome to another episode of Socialistics, Social Media Agency Stories. My name is Jason Yormark, and we have another great guest this week. We're going to talk his agency story and all things SEO. Welcome Jason Berkowitz from Break the Web. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like we normally do, just kind of jump in. Tell me a little bit about your history, kind of how you got into marketing, SEO, how you started the agency, and what you guys do.
Yeah, so the agency kind of fell in by accident, I guess, natural evolution, of course. I owned a different business in the fitness world about 10 years ago. And I was a personal trainer. And finding ways to have clients come to me was really challenging. So while Googling around, as somebody might typically do, I searched and I came across the acronym SEO. And I realized that I can actually have people who have intent and demand for my services as a personal trainer come to me. So I successfully learned about SEO. And of course, SEO was very different way back then. It was around 2009, 2010. And I actually lost a passion for personal training, and kind of a paradigm shift took place. And I was more interested in the SEO aspect of things, where I did this for my own business. I can do this for other businesses as well. So started freelancing on the side just for some extra cash. My first client was on Elance, which is now Upwork. And since then, it was just a natural transition with growth as I started getting busier and busier, started bringing on VAs to help with some minute tasks. And then slowly but surely, you just open your eyes one day and you have a little boutique agency.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So how long has Break the Web, how long have you been in business?
So we've been officially labeled as Break the Web since about 2018. But was a small agency, probably around 2013 is when things started growing. We were under a different name because we do SEO. We had a really horrible brand name. Legally it was different, but the brand name was SEO Services New York. .org, because SEO, rank, and that site actually still ranks as kind of a lead generator for us now. But it's not really brandable. It sucks. Sure. So we were legally at the time Hyper Web Marketing, which also sucks. So a little bit of whiskey, watching the news, Kim Kardashian breaking the web. That's where we are now.
Gotcha. Awesome. So tell me a little bit more about your agency now. How many people, what type of clients do you work with? Is it just SEO? Do you do anything other than that? Just give me a little bit more landscape.
Yeah. So we're a team of 15 and we primarily offer search marketing. So whether it's SEO or paid advertising within search, we could also do a little bit of social, but our real expertise is right in the realm of the search engines. And we typically help in-house marketers that exist within certain brands of B2C companies integrate SEO, make it work effectively, and collaborate with existing teams versus maybe smaller sized businesses that your main point of contact might be the owner or the founder. For us, we found that the way we works best when we have somebody who's a bit more data driven, like a marketer in-house versus a founder or an owner who might be a bit more emotionally driven.
Yeah. I've always found, I know enough about SEO to kind of speak to it and even sell it to a certain extent, but I've never really been a practitioner. And the thing that I've always found either on either side of it is that it's still a big, it's very mysterious. When I think about marketing strategies and tactics, SEO is like the most mysterious one. It's always the one that nobody really knows how to do. And everybody has a different theory about how to do it. And there's a lot of pretenders. What, in your opinion, in your experience, what makes a high quality SEO strategy or agency? Like what differentiates from, cause I've seen a bunch of garbage ones that say they'll do it for a couple $100 and I'm like, you always get what you pay for. So really what makes the difference between doing it the right way and all of those sorts of folks?
Well, especially when you're working with an agency that specializes in SEO, I think the big differentiator is whether that agency is focused on maybe vanity numbers or keywords versus the big picture. So of course, when we have a discovery with our clients, we try to figure out what their big picture is. Is it sales? Is it traffic? Is it brand awareness? Making sure that we tie in overall to their bigger picture, because SEO is a strategy of the many different marketing verticals into their bigger picture. That's where we try to find alignment. And of course, SEO is a patience game, an expensive patience game, as you said. When you do have companies that offer too cheap or You have companies that are too expensive. Those are kind of the red flags to keep an eye out for. But a good SEO strategy is one that's focused on the big picture, one that's ever evolving because the algorithms are always ever evolving, but ones that are going the natural course of a website just gaining authority and trust online. That's where I would say is the right SEO strategy.
In this day and age, there's a lot of different buckets that I know kind of contribute to SEO, like on-site, external content, link building. Is there one that really, as things kind of exist today, is there one that really impacts search results from an SEO perspective more significantly than any other?
I personally believe it's a 50-50 split. What I see, I don't as much anymore, but I used to get in LinkedIn fights with people. I know there's Twitter fights, LinkedIn fights where people are like only links, people are like only content. And of course, they are selling either links or they're selling content.
Right.
But it is a 50-50 split because content is used to signal relevance of a site, topical relevance, what the website's about, who it serves, what questions are being answered. But if you're in a competitive space, yeah, you might be able to, in low competitive spaces, rank with just really, really awesome content. But then you need that trust factor. And that's where links come in to help signal trust in that 50-50 split. So in any normal competitive market, you really need to have what's objective as great content, as well as some really good trust signals coming in from relevant websites as well, i.e. links.
Gotcha. What percentage of the clients that you work with, are you guys creating the content for them? Do they do it with your direction? What does that dynamic look like?
Everyone uses our direction, our actual content offering. We do maybe 25% of it. It's something that we're actually looking to grow in the future is full-on content marketing versus just advisement, where we can help them with content briefs and help them with inclusions of what should be in the content and work directly with their writers, where you are looking to down the road offer full-on content creation as well. But right now it's about 25% of our clients that take our content, but every single one that's pushing out top of the funnel content, they all take our advisement. Just because we don't want SEO also to be like stupid in terms of the content flow. When you hear of, oh, let's SEO optimize our content, you just hear of like random placings of words and it doesn't flow naturally and it doesn't make sense and it's kind of over optimized. We try to make it a bit more natural where the flow of the content is the number one priority while working in topics that should be included from an SEO standpoint.
How do you see Google My Business impacting SEO in terms of strategically? Obviously, practically every time you do a search, you see the 3-pack at the top. How much of that has impacted what you guys do, and how much of that is a focus in terms of working with certain types of clients?
For local businesses, very impactful. It's just another engine driver in search where people, like I use Google Maps on my phone all the time. So that's just one search engine, but at the same time, I'm also using Google search as well. When I have questions, it's just another engine driver. And they of course tie in to a local presence. If you are local, having a Google My Business can help your regular organic results and vice versa. Having that website and having everything filled out to the fullest can help your map positions as well. Absolute must if you are a local business.
From a local business perspective, if let's say you had to prioritize one over the other, are you pushing people to kind of optimize there and invest resources in making that happen versus organic or vice versa? Does one kind of stand out more than the other?
I'm a big believer in stick with what you own. You own your website and you can control as much as possible. With Google, with anything, Google, Facebook, everything, especially nowadays, you're at their mercy with whatever changes they may make. And even if Google search organically makes some changes, well, there's always Bing and DuckDuckGo, but at least you control the asset versus Google Maps and Google My Business. They can just randomly decide one day to shut you down and not give you a good reason why. And that does happen, unfortunately. So that's where
what are some of the biggest challenges you face in terms of with your clients? Obviously every agency has all kinds of horror stories, but what are some of the biggest misconceptions, or they come to you with unrealistic expectations, or what are some of the bigger challenges you face as an agency owner in terms of how you deal with challenging client or potential client interactions?
Yeah, so our challenge is actually not in the expectation setting phase, like early on, because in the sales process, I do sales for our business, and I really hone in on that. We don't want to deal with any issues down the road. It's actually in the integration of SEO in-house in our client side. That's the biggest challenge. But regarding expectation setting, we really work to make sure that they understand what's possible, what's going to happen, how long things might take. We lay out a roadmap, a timeline of execution, so they know all around what's going to take place. It's the changes and the integration from the development side of things that tend to be the biggest challenge, especially when in-house they may have bandwidth issues. Mm-hmm. And we just improved earlier this week, actually, our onboarding process to get an idea of how much time internally they have to devote towards this type of collaboration, especially early on the foundational stuff like tech SEO, page SEO changes. That tends to be our biggest challenge is getting things integrated on time.
Do you get a lot of potential clients that are uncomfortable with the longer timeline for results? Is that something that you come across a lot?
The leads that come in to our first brand, SEO Services New York.org, yes. It's so weird that the leads come in from to break the web versus that EMD exact match domain. They're so very different, where SEO Services New York tends to be a bit more blue collar, business owner, founder. They tend to be a bit more emotional with the timeline, in which they want results fast. Yeah, they can wait 3 months, but after 3 months, typically you should see something within 3 months as long as you're doing some stuff. But in terms of like the big picture, hitting the big picture and waiting a year for that big picture item to come, some are impatient, and we try to establish that very early on in the sales process. And if we can't manage those expectations, then we're probably not the right fit for them.
Got it. What would you say is the big difference? But we experience this with our business development. We come across clients that aren't a good fit for us in terms of cost. They're expecting, hey, we want to spend a couple $100 a month on this thing. Like, well, you can do that, but you get what you pay for. So in your world, when it comes to SEO, what would you say are the biggest differences between, spending a couple $100 a month, or, in that ballpark versus a couple thousand, where it becomes a little bit more, you're working with an agency that's a little bit more sophisticated. What's really the biggest difference between those two scenarios? What can a business expect if they go cheap with SEO versus going with somebody that's a little bit more expensive and thus probably a little bit more sophisticated in what they do?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is, and since we're all agency owners here, we understand that money doesn't actually equate to deliverables 100%, but it does equate to output. And since time is money, even billable, non-billable hours, all of those come into account. And if you're hiring SEO for cheap, there's a couple of things that might happen. Either they're not doing anything and they're taking your money and they rely on that churn and burn and they're just conglomerates, so they don't care, which there's tons of those in the SEO world.
Sure. Yeah.
And if they are doing work, is it outdated? Is it click push button stuff that used to work 5-6 years ago that don't work anymore? And again, how much time are they actually invested in the campaign in terms of research, strategy development, link building, which we have an entire team dedicated just to link building because that's a whole process. So on the cheap side, times have changed. You get what you pay for. And anyone who, at least for us, who says, well, this company is offering it for cheaper, and if they go significantly cheaper, then we're probably not the right fit for them anyways. They're looking for something quick and easy.
If I'm a potential client and I'm kind of shopping for an SEO provider, in your opinion, what's the best question or series of questions that they can ask to vet whether an SEO agency is the real deal?
Yeah, I can name a few actually. First, if you're having a conversation with them, you should have done your due diligence, making sure you have case studies that can show the proof in the work. And you can even, if they're showing they should show their client's name in those case studies, of course, the testimonial. You can do your own research and say, plug it into SEMrush or Ahrefs and see if the numbers match up and things look good. And then when you actually converse with them, ask them, do you have a framework? Do you have a process? Do you have a timeline? What does that look like? If they just say, oh, we're just going to go and optimize a few pages, build some links, and bada bing, bada boom, you're all set and ready to go. That's a little shady. Where, we have a broad timeline of execution that we share very early on. It's based on a typical client, but of course things get modified based on budgets and such. But it gives them a nice roadmap of what they can expect, especially because SEO or even agencies, I know this from the SEO world, where a lot of clients don't really know what their agencies are doing. They're left in the dark, and they're like, okay, I get a report of the results or the data and the numbers. what did you actually do? Did you coast for a month or two on those numbers while, SEO results were going up, or did you actually spend some time and investment? So asking about the framework, the process, the timelines, what communication is like, because communication is a big pain point in the SEO world. Those are some of the things that
Yeah.
I would highlight early on.
What size clients do you guys typically work with?
Probably 1 to 5 mil annual revenue range.
Okay. And in terms of lead generation for you guys, what's what are your pipelines in terms of new business? Where do you typically get them from? I mean, it may seem like an obvious question. You're an SEO agency search, but sometimes it's not that black and white.
Yeah. Coming on podcasts like this definitely helps. Absolutely. Yeah. We have a few generators, referrals, constantly networking, building the network. We do, of course, do some SEO, which we could be better at ourselves. Like every agency says they can do better at what they offer. We are starting to put a bit more attention to it, so things are going up. SEO in from like top, middle of the funnel, related keywords, as well as bottom of the funnel. New York SEO, search marketing agency, NYC. Those type of keywords are optimal for us. And we have dabbled with paid a little bit. Hasn't really done much because it's competitive.
Yeah, for sure. So are your decision makers typically like C-suite level marketing directors, CEOs? Is that the kind of decision makers that you guys are trying to reach?
Yeah. Our typical client has a decision maker is a marketing director, with our main point of contact being manager or somebody below the director, in which a director can be available for, of course, expectation setting, as well as quarterly review meetings.
Yeah. So are you this is really, what's been interesting to me is when I first started my agency, I didn't really expect that those types of folks are the kinds of people that would be searching, for an agency. Like in most cases, it would be somebody that was referred to them, or they didn't have to put in a lot of legwork to kind of go and find something. But it's been interesting. And I don't know if this is because of the pandemic, because more people are online and there's less in person, but the percentage of leads that we get through search from individuals like that is more than I would have expected as an agency owner. I'm just kind of curious if you guys are experiencing the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like, for example, top of the funnel or content or informational depends on what you're actively targeting. So, for example, if you have a content piece that's not thought leadership about your service, specifically, like every SEO agency is constantly posting SEO content. Like, what is this? How to do keyword research, how to do XYZ. And there's no differentiation there. But if you can tackle pain points through your content and then SEO the hell out of it in which people are searching, that's really powerful. One example that we have is we rank for full service agency, boutique versus full service agency with one post. And it's just a comparison with the boutique agency versus full service agency. My biased opinion is that boutique is better than full service. So it's kind of gearing that way. It's kind of gearing that way in the content itself. And it actually does provide a few leads per month because we're ranking for a variety of keywords.
No, I agree. We kind of get quite a bit of that. As far as in terms of, I just lost my train of thought there for a second. So agency owners, any kind of tips, tricks, suggestion, advice for somebody that's just starting out an agency or thinking about it, and either just from what you've learned as an agency owner, or as it may apply to SEO, anything that kind of comes to mind that might be helpful.
The first one is going to be, this is going to be an emotional roller coaster. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. You have some really awesome days. You end the day, you're like, hell yeah, I'm about to pop a bottle of whiskey and party. And then there's going to be days where you have like imposter syndrome. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing here with all these people? And it doesn't make sense. So that's one. There's going to, I guess, entrepreneurship in general is an emotional roller coaster of ups and downs. And then from an actual tactical perspective, document everything. SOPs for everything you do, because some days somebody may leave and you're like, oh crap, I have to train somebody. And I don't even know how to do it. So have everyone just document everything. We actually had an operations team come in and audit our stuff a few weeks ago, and they had a really good tip. Any random one-off questions, whether it's Slack or our project management tool that gets asked, immediately becomes an SOP. I thought that was, it's simple and stupid, but it's a lot, and it's allowed us to enhance our SOP significantly.
No, that's awesome. I love that. What is, I ask everybody this, almost everybody, favorite gadget, book, documentary, something that you've consumed or used, or something that just really comes to mind that has been kind of an impactful thing for you, or one of your favorite things?
As I turn around to my bookshelf and look at some of the book ideas, so there's some really good ones for agency owners. Of course, Traction. I've heard of Traction by Gino Wickman. EOS model, very good. As well as Profit First from Michael Kalowitz. That's a really good one, just to make sure as an agency owner, you're putting money away and you're actually putting money in your pocket, and you can do whatever the hell you want with it. Save it, spend it, whatever you want. But that's where it helps find a lot of profit leaks. There's another good one from Joey Coleman, Never Lose a Customer Again, that actually really revamped our onboarding process and customer experience significantly. So those are very cool. 3 great books.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love getting those recommendations. Awesome. Anything that I didn't ask you today that you think might be helpful to kind of slide into what we've talked about today?
Not that I can think of offhand, but this was awesome.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing your insights. I always find SEO stuff fascinating. We need to do a better job of it. We've been doing content for 3 years, so just doing that alone is, I concur with you. Just being consistent and putting out content and being helpful and thinking about keywords around, those posts has been enough to really, drive a significant warm lead pipeline for us. So if anybody's listening, you don't have to be an SEO guru, just put out really great stuff. And that in and of itself can really make a huge difference, but really interesting to kind of
process. Somebody asked a question. Oh, we actually have an article on that topic specifically. Doesn't even need to be for SEO.
Yeah. Well, plus the podcast, like for us, doing this podcast has been a really great sales tool, because we'll have a conversation and then something will come up and I'm like, oh, we had an episode that actually touched on this. You should go listen to it. And then they're like, you have a podcast? Like they just think it's like this celebrity level achievement. I'm like, I don't say this, but I'm like, it's really not that difficult to do if you really want to do it. But hey, if that's the way you want to think about it, that's fine. But it's crazy how much of a differentiator that can be too. So. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. How can people find you, your agency, kind of share your contact info?
Absolutely. You can just Google Break the Web. We're at breaktheweb.agency, and find me on social stuff, Jason Berkowitz.
Awesome. Well, thanks again so much for being on the show. Real pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Awesome. And that'll do it for this week's episode of Socialistic Social Media Agency Stories. Like, share, all that good stuff. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next episode.